Okay, again, my name is Elliott McFadden. I'm with Austin on Two Wheels, which is an online magazine of Austin cycling. I'm also the builder at Violet Crown Cycles. We wanted to put these roundtables together just to get to know some of the builders a little bit better. And we're going to keep this as a pretty informal conversation and have a few little fun questions at the end. And if you have any questions for builders, you just let me know and we'll pop in and ask. So first question, just to get started, you know, over and over again, people talk about frame building and the passion for cycling. That's what got them into it. Just real simple question, what's your earliest memory of riding a bike?
I had a purple metal flake bike with a banana seat, a white banana seat, and getting pushed in my yard. That's as early as I get.
That's great. I forgot to I realized I forgot to introduce people. The first speaker here is Brad Cason from KirkLee Bikes, and now we're going to have Dimitri Harris from MEECH.
My first memory is out on a little purple bicycle. My dad was teaching me to ride without training wheels and just crashing time and time again, you know, before I finally figured it out. And so that's my first memory.
It must have something to do with purple bikes then.
So you heard it here first. If you want your child to grow up to be a frame builder, put them on a purple bike. So fast forward a little bit. At what point or what things happened in your life, or what a series of events led you to decide that you wanted to be a frame builder?
I don't think I ever decided I wanted to be a frame builder. I think it came to, I would see things and decide or look at them and feel like I could build one equally as good, if not better. And I just kept, you know, building and building, from surfboards to bikes, and I was never afraid to jump into something. But when I did build my first bike and people saw it, when other people started asking if I would build them for them, it let me know perhaps I was onto something.
For me, it would be, I'm a fairly new frame builder. I've been building for roughly 3 years, and I was at a cyclocross race spectating a friend of mine, Larry Yancey, and I saw a sweet Bianchi cyclocross bike laying on the ground, and it was aluminum mainframe with a carbon rear triangle. And I thought, man, if I can just weld a triangle and glue a rear end in, I'm like, you know, I've got a bicycle. And it turned out it's a lot harder than that. But I was stoked, and I started playing around with frames, and I went to Koichi Yamaguchi to get some professional training, and I've just been building frame after frame since then. And I found it to be a real rewarding experience, and I just love it. I'm enjoying the show and just a chance to get my frames out there, and I really love racers and seeing my frames at the races.
Excellent. So going on along the process, you decided, you kind of talked a little bit about this already, but decided that you wanted to build a frame. You know, what was your process in the learning the craft, and getting to the point where you felt like you were ready to hang up your own shingle?
For me, like I said, I came home from that race and I started trying to build a frame right off the bat, but I didn't waste much time. I knew it was pretty serious. It's hard work. So I just decided straight away that I was going to go to a professional frame builder and learn. So after I decided I was going to build a frame, it was only 2 or 3 months before I was getting instructions. So I've forgotten the second part of the question, but
sort of, you know, at what point, you know, so you went and you learned, and you know, how you got to the point where you're like, I'm ready to hang up my own shingle and sell bikes.
Actually, I started building bikes, and I gave I built the first bike for my wife because I just wanted to build something for somebody other than me. And the first cross frame that I built, I gave to my friend Larry Yancey, and he just started beating it up, and I'm like, test it out, let's see what it'll do. And he raced it. He became a pretty good cross racer, and just been building one after a time, and I take my time, and I've had good feedback and been fortunate. No major frame failures. A few small problems, trying to get clearance in chain stays and stuff like that, but I've learned it, and so that's it.
See,
Let's try the other one.
See, I think the metal guys have it somewhat easy because at least there's people that know how to work with it. When I started thinking about building frames, no one was teaching carbon, and to this day I don't think anyone teaches carbon. Universities don't have good classes on carbon, so the internet is how I started researching everything I could, and then that led to me contacting aircraft manufacturers and kit builders and buying textbooks of theirs and how to work with carbon. And if you look around long enough, you'll get your hands on some material. Then you can start putting together how to build a bike. But I look back, and I still have my first frame jig hanging on the wall that I made out of aluminum extrusion. And it was just a real long process. And then as you keep building, like this was around the year 2000, so I'm closing in on 10 years into researching carbon. So started in 2000, the first bike was probably made in 2002, and it was a mountain bike I built for myself, and I beat it up, and it's still in one piece. It'll go in the KirkLee Museum sometime, and then you just start building more and more once you figure it out, and then you start making leaps and bounds in layups and development, and then you start learning the industry speak, and doors start opening, and then you pay your dues, then you'll get someplace. But even to this day, if you get a KirkLee, if you're in the inner circle and get your KirkLees for free, we still experiment on them. And the first 5 bikes we built, I would jokingly say they come with the no front teeth guarantee, because there's no guarantees on these.
I'm going to put this mic down because it doesn't seem to be working. So, just to kind of follow up, Brad, traditionally a lot of people start with steel and build steel, and some of us still do steel. Yours is a little different story because you did go straight to carbon. What went into your decision-making process to choose that material?
At the time, I was racing a lot, and all my friends were racing, and carbon was what they were interested in. And I don't know, myself, I narrowed it down to carbon or titanium. And I still love both materials, and I love steel. There's quite a few bikes of all makes that I want to get my hands on. But it's hard to say. I think ultimately it came down to if I go metal, I've got to buy a welder, and if I go composites, I got to buy a bunch of material and figure it out. And I just chose, let's go composites.
For me, I've always been a fan of carbon. I'm kind of an ex-racer, and I always loved carbon, look frames, Scott frames, and I just love the way it felt, and they're lightweight, and they go up hills good, they accelerate. I got into steel because I was new, starting out as a frame builder, and it was the easiest and it was the most cost effective for me to start out at, because I just started out with a torch and some files, and that's, for the most part, that's the way I still build them. I've got a ton of respect for carbon fiber builders because I've I've played around with carbon fiber a little bit. I've built a steel and a carbon fiber mix frame, and carbon was actually always in the back of my mind. And I've experimented with building fenders out of carbon fiber, and I can attest that carbon is extremely hard to work with. It's messy, and it's definitely not just taking some fabric and gluing it together and making a bicycle. There's a lot of work that goes in it, and I've got a lot of respect. And I want to build carbon fiber bikes maybe in the future.
I was just going to follow up. I believe there is an internet article somewhere, how to build your own carbon fiber bike from scratch, and that just scares the hell out of me personally. But a lot of builders, the tradition custom was sort of be a jack of all trades to be able to build whatever came in the door, but really, if you walk around the room, I think a lot of us have picked a niche or a style of bike that we're really passionate about. For me, it's transportation or touring bikes. And that seems to be the direction a lot of people are going. What led to you what is the specialty? I guess share with people, whether it's racing or mountain or road or transportation or whatever it is. Is there a specialty for you that you the kind of bike that you tend to specialize in, and what led you, or why did you make that choice?
My specialty with KirkLee, 90% of everything I make is built to be raced. And that's not me saying that. That's who contacts me, from Christian Hule getting 9th in the Swiss National Championships this year to the bike I built for Tyler Hamilton, or whatever pros call me up. I mean, that's just, I wouldn't even say it's KirkLee, it's carbon. And when you build carbon bikes, if it's not for competition, then it gets to a point of why are you spending that much money to get the bike made? And unless you're going for a PR, or you ride in hills all the time, or there's a performance reason you're choosing carbon.
Basically, the question was, why have you picked the style of bike that you build?
Oh yeah, for me, the first frame that I built was a cyclocross frame, and I chose that because I'm a miserable cyclocross racer, even though I've done a few of them. But I just love the versatility of cross bikes in general. Being able to throw, a knobby tire on it and air it up, and you can go hit the road, or you can go hit a gravel road. And me and my buddy Larry, we used to get out in the rice fields and just ride those dirt roads when you get sick of your same training loops and so forth. And it just was a breath of fresh air. The versatility across is, that's the majority of the bikes that I build. I'm also mainly a roadie. I don't do many cross races anymore. I don't do many races anymore. And me as well, like KirkLee, I prefer racing performance bikes. I like the straightforward racing style, and steel, carbon, like I said, I love carbon, and it's great race material. I also try to since I work with steel, I'm trying constantly to get my steel frames down to a competitive weight with carbon. I'm constantly trying to build frames that, are raceable and competitive with the latest materials out there. And carbon is the one I believe to measure it against.